This week, I'm proving that sobriety compresses your social circles, and that contraction increases leverage. It increases things like your focus. It increases things like clarity. We're looking for that clarity over chaos. You may have heard me say that in the past on other episodes. Now, let's take a look at the data. Let's take a look at some of these patterns here. Quitting alcohol reduces social noise, and that quietly unlocks a better or a higher performance. And when we think about it from a dude's perspective, the noise, we're constantly bombarded with noise on social media, on television, on billboards, on ads, on pressure among us that we carry to be good leaders in both in business, in our personal lives, in our families, and just being better dudes. And so there's a lot of chaos sometimes. We're busy. We have a lot of things going on. We're trying to do all the right things and make sure that everything, works out the way that we have expectations for. And sometimes those expectations can be the one thing that's getting in the way at the same time too. So it's a tough thing to balance here, and we bring it back, and that noise intensifies when we're drinking. It might cut out for the time that, we have a few beverages to kind of let go. And that's why a lot of guys drink, I think. But at the end of the day, that's going to compound over time. And like last week's episode that we put out, alcohol is a performance tax. That's exactly what it is. And you can see how that kind of works. It's a tax over the long run. So what does this look like? When you quit, like, what happens? Like, what are some of those patterns? And I have a lot of guys asking this. Well, I don't know. Am I going to lose friends? We're going to talk a little bit about that today. What are your social circles? Like, what does that look like? How do you navigate that? And I think I know for me, when I first quit, when I first stopped, when I first said, I'm done with this, I'm going to make some different decisions and some changes, and see where this leads. You naturally are going to see fewer like drinking invites, parties, like things like that. Like, it naturally starts to thin out. Number one, you might have those social circles that don't feel comfortable inviting the person who doesn't drink for whatever reason that may be. And then you're also going to find that when you do get those invites, they're not really as appealing as they used to be, because you're not participating in that, and it's a bit different. And it is a little bit tough at first. It does take some time. It takes some adjustment, and it takes some getting used to. There's no doubt about that. But I think in the long run, in fact, I know in the long run, especially for myself, one of the greatest decisions that I ever made. Doesn't mean I still can't go to parties and have a good time. I definitely don't go to a lot of parties. I don't go like I used to, that's for sure. But I'm saying a party when you have a reason to be there. Maybe it's an anniversary party or a wedding or a birthday party or a get together. You're celebrating something. Like, it's fun to go to. It's fun to have a good time. And I can still do that today and not have to drink and still enjoy myself. But your attention isn't to split across casual, surface level interactions at this point either. You start to realize that, like, damn, my time is really valuable. And I don't really want to have these conversations where we're intoxicated, or I'm talking to somebody who's intoxicated who, number one, isn't really making a lot of sense. Number two, it's very high level, and I'm all for like a high level sports conversation or something too. So I don't want to sound like I'm like, like, I don't know what the word is other than like a prude. Do you give a guy can you call a guy a prude? I guess you can. You can call him a prude. You can call him a prick, however you want to put it. I don't want to come across like that. I do enjoy some of those, maybe not as meaningful convos sometimes, but for the most part, like overall, I'm not going to waste my time with those like surface level interactions, because my time is very valuable now, like to my family, to my work that I'm doing, to the things that are important to me and the people that I surround myself with. So I don't have the time that I used to back in the day just to chop it up about dumb shit. Like that's probably the best way I could put it. And if we take a stat from this is the Sober Male Index. I referenced this last time. I'm working on this as we speak. And men who quit alcohol report a 30% drop in social interactions initially. Okay, a 30% drop. So, you might say, damn, that's a big drop. And it is. But those same men report higher quality conversations clearer decision making, and more effective networking opportunities moving forward. So the initial shock of it, 30%, wow, my social circles are compressing. I may have distanced myself from some old friends. Doesn't mean I have to hate them or whatever. I'm taking a break. I'm trying to rearrange some things. But at the same time, you're going to get higher quality over that time, which is important. And so that's a tough thing to do at first, but it's definitely possible. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. Also, focus hours increase as casual social energy is removed. So the ability to focus, and we dove into quite a bit of the focus stuff last week, but that's a huge benefit that a lot of guys are seeing. I think it was something like 15 to 30% increase in that focus once the alcohol was removed, and once we had a chance to almost kind of level set with this new path that we're headed down. And here's a way to, I guess, kind of put this in a different, or frame it up a little bit different too. Just real simple. Less time spent on small talk, more mental bandwidth for thinking, for strategy thinking, for planning, for contingency plans, whatever that vision for 2026, your business goals, your family goals, your leadership goals, whatever that looks like, you have much more mental ability to take that in. And then the relationships that actually matter, the ones that are important to you, not the high level ones that we're talking about, just the BS in here and the BS in there and blah, 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 and doesn't make a lot of sense. And, there's a time and a place for that sometimes, but as you get older, you realize it's not really that important and you don't want to waste your time on it. And so the relationships that don't matter as much kind of organically filter themselves out. And the relationships that matter, the people that matter most to you, the important, those important relationships, they rise to the top. They come up and they start to be more fruitful, and they start to be more available, and they start to be better off on both ends of the spectrum, helping each other and just creating that bond, and it grows and grows stronger over time. So if we kind of pull this in, sobriety doesn't shrink your life. It might seem like it at first. It does compress the social circle, to reference the title again. But in the long run, it really, what it does is it's reallocating that energy that you have been spending in certain areas of your life that may not have really been beneficial to you. It puts them in a better spot, a better direction, a better ability to grow in those things that are important to you. So the shrinkage, like I said, like the compression, it feels negative at first, but the payoff is huge, and the payoff is leverage. The payoff is leverage. So a dude might feel, let me give you an example. Like you might feel like you got that, you're missing out, right? Man, I hear that from a lot of guys. Like, damn, I feel like if I quit, like, how am I going to go to a baseball game? How am I going to go to my work event? What am I going to do? How am I going to adjust my life, being that everything is so focused around alcohol a lot of the time? And the parties, the dinners, the casual, let's grab a drink. I get that. It does feel a bit like you're going to be missing out. The early social discomfort in that, like when you start to feel uncomfortable in those things, and you're starting to question, like that's normal too. That's your brain saying like, wait a minute. It's like, it's almost on like alert mode. Like, hold on. Like that's going to be like, I'm really going to miss that. Like, what am I going to do? And so when I was thinking about this, and like, because this is such a big issue, it's like, how do we address this? How do we talk about it? How do we take a look at it? After the first 30 to 60 days. Okay. So I just want you to think about this for a minute. Back to the FOMO stuff. I'm going to miss out. I'm missing out on the casual drinks, the parties, the dinners. I'm feeling uncomfortable. Like, even if I do go to one of these things, like, how do I act? What do I do? Do I order a water, a coffee? Like, this is so common, such a big thing for so many dudes. But listen to this. If you can hold on, and you got a plan, and you're working with someone, and you know what your goal is, right? And you're executing, after the first 30 to 60 days, men report a 40% more time spent in high value social or professional interaction. And what that means is more clarity, more focus, the ability to concentrate your energy where it actually counts. And in turn, that's going to give you more energy. It's going to make you be, more alert, more clear, all those things that we're looking for. So fewer obligations, fewer wasted time, or less wasted time, should I say, equals more ability to execute those important things that are in your life. And that's huge. Some of the common things that I think other dudes have observed or we've talked about, had discussions about, and this is stuff I've experienced too, is when you start getting like people not inviting you, might feel a little awkward at first, might hurt your feelings a little bit. Oh man, they didn't invite me. Well, guess I know who my friends are. It doesn't have to be like that. It's just, you're going through change, and change is tough sometimes. And there's different seasons of life with different friends and different things that you're into. There's different work seasons. There's so much change in this life. And that's something that is tough for a lot of people, including myself, but we have to learn how to adapt to those and how to make those adjustments. So, when we're headed down this new path, you can understand, I might not get the invite after a minute. Maybe they don't want to hang out. And, I understand that because I'm not doing the same things that they're doing. Some other things you might notice, or that, we've heard men talk about before, is the days feel longer. You feel like you got more time, which can slow down a little bit. It means you're in the moment, which is amazing. But they become more intentional. Like, what is that looking like? What you're doing during the day is more intentional. Your intentions are better. You notice like who in your life or what in your life really adds value to it versus drains your energy and doesn't add value to it. And that's a really, really big thing. You start to prioritize the things that are important in your life and the people that are important in your life. So if you let me propose this question here. What did it feel like when your calendar, or what does it feel like, should I say, when your calendar is all clear, like when it's cleared off, right? Isn't that such a good feeling? And you feel like you can step back. Just let me clear my calendar and let me just start from scratch. Okay. And that's a great place to kind of start and almost put analogy to that when you quit drinking. It's like you get a fresh start almost. You can clear that calendar. You can start to take a look at it with a blank slate, and then we remove all of it, and then you can start to add the things that actually matter to it. And then one of the things you can start tracking too is after you did quit, let's say you're 30 days in, you go, man, who did reach out to me? Who didn't? Who doesn't really care? Who doesn't support this? And it might not be a personal thing. It might just be a busy thing too. So, I mean, you kind of got to flex in that as well, but you'll start to notice what matters in your life. You'll start to notice who's important and who thinks you're important too. And that's really important in itself. The crowd definitely will thin out. I can tell you that right now, at least, and like I go back to, it doesn't mean that you have to kick all your friends to the curb. It's not what I'm saying you should do, or that is a smart thing to do. There may be some that you have to, no doubt. It just depends. I mean, everyone's in a different situation there, but I think the important thing is having friends that understand what you're going through. And if they're real friends, they're going to support you and they're going to back you. And chances are they're going to ask you too, man, dude, I see a difference. How you doing that? Like, they start thinking maybe I should try that. So you can start to have effects on your family and your friends too, just by doing the next right thing and doing you. What about the cultural tension between this? And this is, I love talking about the culture kind of bucket when it comes to looking at sobriety, looking at culture through the lens of sobriety is probably the best way to put it. But society celebrates being social, right? Like we need to be out. You see all the commercials, the shows, like we want to be out partying and having fun. And maybe if it's even not partying, it's just still being social settings, coffee shops, bars, restaurants, movies, like events, concerts, all those things, baseball games, football games, basketball, whatever it is that you're into, right? All these social aspects of life, society really, really pushes those and tells us how important they are. But a lot of the time they miss the fact that clarity is just as important as all of that. And if all of those things are lumped in together with drinking, which a lot of them are, you're not recognizing the clarity in that. You're recognizing kind of the chaos of it, but you're not taking a look at how important, like you're taking a look at how important the social aspect of life is, but you're not taking a look at how important the clarity is. And so that's something that we should take a look at through the lens of sobriety when we look at culture. And alcohol is a big part of that. And it equals, for many dudes, it's like bonding, right? We talked about this last week, sitting around, a campfire, or sitting at, after the wedding reception or during the wedding reception and having a drink and a cigar, or whatever that situation looks like, or it's at, a Christmas party or a holiday party or a birthday party, and everyone's drinking and having a couple of drinks and whatever. And the person that opts out of that and says, no, I don't drink, it can be a little uncomfortable sometimes. And some people can see that or perceive that as a threat when it really isn't. It's not necessarily a threat, but it might be a trigger. It might be an insecurity. It might be a form of defensiveness for somebody else, because even though you're not judging them, you don't really care, they don't necessarily know that. And they go, wait, man, they start to question maybe some of their own decisions, some of their own past, mistakes, or whatever it is, maybe just how they feel in general. Maybe they've even been thinking about it themselves. Like, man, I need to cut this out for a little bit. This is just too much. And so that, that's a pretty common thing, I think, that a lot of guys have to deal with and have to take a look at. So many other dudes, though, report, and they've talked about this, they've studied this, we got some of the data points for it, that opt-out behavior initially strained some of those casual relationships. So maybe sometimes we refer that as your drinking buddies too. I mean, you've heard me say that before. It's a pretty common phrase. But when you decide, no, I'm not drinking, I'm not really partaking in that right now, or for a while, or forever, whatever that looks like, some of those casual relationships go away. They do. But their influence, the credibility, the presence that you gain, even though some of those leave, that you gain in those high value environments, those high value relationships that we talked about, they start to increase. So yes, you're losing some things, but you're gaining so much more, I think is the best way to put that. That leverage comes from less, not more. And when we're taught about more is better, more is not always better. More is not always better. Sometimes it's less that's better. And we just need to chill, and we need to maximize the things that are important, which is less sometimes. It's not more. What about masculinity? That disciplined men are maybe looked at as they're cocky, or they're arrogant, or they think they're better because they're not doing the whole party thing anymore. And I don't think that's really the case. Some people see it like that, but I would kind of go back to that whole insecurity thing. Most people are too busy worried about themselves to really care about what you're doing. We go into things and we think, oh my God, everyone's watching or looking, you got anxiety. And I mean, it might be the case here and there occasionally, but I'm going to tell you, most of the time, nobody cares really what you're doing because they're too worried about themselves. And that's just human nature. So let's talk a little bit about, let me take a quick drink real fast here. All right. So fewer low value social obligations. What does that equal? It equals more time. It equals more energy. It equals more clarity. That compounds over time to a huge advantage in whatever sector, whatever part of your life you're taking a look at. Attention is the most underrated, we could call it a currency in performance. Your attention. I mean, that is huge. In the ability to be present and be attentive to whatever it is that you're working on, that you're doing, that you're talking to, that you're dealing with, whatever situation, a client, a spouse, a family member, a friend. Your attention is important. Your kids, how important is your attention to your kids? That is huge. And if you're foggy and not clear and you're not feeling good, you're just out of it because you've been drinking the night before, or man, that's that tax. That's that tax, and that attentiveness, to these things in your life is so important. And it's hard to give that 100% if you don't have it, especially to your kids, man. That's a big one. I had a lot of that as when my daughter was young. When my son was born, I had already stopped, but my attention wasn't full, and that was one thing that I was really lacking. It was one thing that really motivated me to make some changes, because the attentiveness, I wanted it, but I just wasn't. I didn't physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I wasn't able to give it, and so that's a really, really important one. Attention, and then it's going to free some time up too. Like how much time do we waste sitting around, or after, if we do have some drinks or whatever in life, life throws something at us, and then all of a sudden we're like, I don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. Not really feeling like that. So I'm not really feeling that. Yeah, I'm not really feeling that today. It just reminded me, my father-in-law had a guy show up at work one day, and it was like his first day. And my father-in-law, he runs a big electrical business, and he's an electrician, and so hard work, man. And guy shows up and he tells him to do something, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I'm not really feeling that today." Can you imagine telling your bot, the guy that just hired you, the owner of the company, like, who's like a pretty like tough, hard electrician, like, "Yeah, I'm not really feeling that today." I don't think he lasted very long. I think he lasted about 5 more seconds and his ass was gone. Anyways, I don't know what the point of that was, other than sharing a funny story about that. But you don't have that capacity, that attention. Oh no, I'm sorry. I got off track there, and now I totally forgot what I was talking about, but it was free time. So the time, let's get back on track here, Raymer. Come on. You have more time in your life. You have more time to focus on the things that are important, because you're not out wasting that time. And then not only are you wasting the time spent doing if it's alcohol related, you're also wasting the time the next morning as well. And that's just not really conducive to a healthy overall lifestyle. So men report a 15% increase in focused project output when social distractions decline. That's even before adding new routines too. So let me read that one more time, because I feel like I kind of botched that there. Men report a 15% increase in focused project output when social distractions decline. So back to compressing the social circles, right? We're cutting out the shit that is not conducive to the lifestyle that we're changing and new path that we're going down. When we start to cut that stuff out, we see a 15% increase in output in all aspects. Those social distractions decline, the output, the performance levels, they start to go up. And so that is huge. And what that really means is less noise, less chaos equals a better signal in personal and professional life. That's huge. So let me ask you a question. What benefits, like who benefits actually, should I say, when you opt out of casual social events? Like, I want you to think about that for a second. So I want you to think about the buddy that invites you out, or the coworker that invites you out, or the event that you have to go to that you're not really sure if you want to go, because it's the same old thing, right? It's the same old thing. So if you opt out of that, which I know is hard, because I'll bring it back to the FOMO, right? We talked about that a little bit. Fear of missing out. Like, man, I don't know. What am I going to do? Like, I don't want to just sit around at home. It's lame. Think about this. Who benefits when you opt out of those casual social events? It's probably not just you, is what I'm getting at. It's probably not just you. It might be your spouse, your kids. It's obviously you somewhat. Your coworkers or your employees, or the people that that you work with. I guess that would be coworkers. But just think about that. Like, who benefits from that? I think that's an important question. And then I want you to ask yourself this question too. The attention, the energy that you would have put out to go to that event, whatever that was that you opted out of, how does that attention shift into a positive, and where does it get redistributed to? That's huge. That's a big part of that. And if you can start to train your mind to think like that, when you start to get that FOMO, that fear of missing out. Like, damn, what am I gonna, man, I really want to go do. I'm having this urge right now. I just want to go sit at the restaurant and have some drinks and just want to relax. Well, always what I do. Like, think about that. Just like pause, take a breath, like slow down a little bit and go, okay, if I opted out of this right now, I know there's a lot of fear in there and I'm feeling like, man, I really want to do this. But if I opt out and I don't do that, the energy, the money, because finance is that's another big thing. The energy, the money, the way I'm going to feel tomorrow, like all that I'm going to put out for this thing that's really not important. It's really not that important. It's more of a feeling. Like, where does all of that get redistributed to? Like, where does that go? Does it go to my work? Does it go to my family? Does it go to this project I'm working on, the startup? Does it go to a new business idea? Does it go to my health, my overall health? Does it go to my men's group, to my study, my men's study that we're working on at my church? Like, what does that, like, just think about that and think about the ability to compound that over time and how much we waste time and how much energy we waste on things that aren't really important because society tells us that it's acceptable and that we should. Sobriety focuses on leveraging the best things in your life, not the things that suck or that we're trying to escape from. And so before we wrap this up, let's talk about some of the objections to this and maybe some of the thoughts you're having, some of the thoughts we've heard, because they're similar in a lot of ways. So the first one, well, I don't want fewer friends, right? I don't want to ditch my friend. Like I already said, you don't have to ditch friends. You might have to distance yourself from certain friends and environments and situations and places and people and things at first. But you don't have to do it forever. You can reset. You can kind of reestablish and prioritize. But we're not looking, it's not about just fewer friends though, too. We're looking at quality over quantity. And that's a very important thing. We want quality relationships. We want to spend quality time over just like quantity, a bunch of random people, a bunch of random acquaintances or drinking buddies or coworkers. Like, I mean, maybe there's a time and a place for them when you get to a certain point. But at first, you have to compress that. It has to change a little bit. The second one, I'm not losing anything valuable. I'm not losing. So, and this is a good one too, because I experienced this and I think it prolonged my ability to continue to drink alcohol, even though it wasn't serving me well, is I didn't lose everything. I came really close. My relationships weren't great. My finances were definitely not great. And I still had my job, but it was kind of hanging on by a thread. So I hadn't technically lost everything yet. And it allowed me to justify some things and continue on the behavior. But the things that I wasn't really looking at that time were like, I was losing the ability to connect, number one, in those relationships. I was losing the ability to have a clear mind, and I was losing the ability to build instead of tear down. And I didn't really know it yet because it happened really fast. Well, it happened slow, but then it happened really fast towards the end, if that makes sense. And so the early, like the setbacks, the challenges, the early friction maybe that you're going to experience, you just have to remember it's short term. It's very short term, to get through. It's that short term discomfort that in the long run is so worth it. That long-term gain, that equals such a higher leverage and clarity. That once again, that clarity over chaos. Clarity over chaos. It's so important. That's the foundation. The foundation is huge in anything. What about another objection here? Like I'm going to be lonely. I'm not going to have any friends. What's my dating life or if you're single out there or something, what does that look like? And it's a tough one. I get it, but temporary, like having to readjust and compress that social life and maybe even be isolated for a little bit. It's okay. It's natural to do that. You might need to step back and look inward for a little bit and set that clear foundation. The social life will return, but it will return in a whole different way for you because you're looking at it through a different lens of sobriety. You're looking at it with some clarity. You're looking at it with different perspective. You're looking at it with some goals, with some vision. And that's huge. And we've had men report that after 90 days, men feel stronger. They feel more confident. They feel like their lives matter. They feel a higher value connection, even though a lot of those old interactions, they dropped. They felt like they lost them at first, but in the long run, it's a huge gain. It's a huge gain. So less is not necessarily loneliness. It's more of a strategic focus on what you're looking to do and how you're looking to move ahead. So let's kind of tie this all together here, and then we're going to wrap it up. But we talked about how sobriety shrinks the social circle, right? And there's some fear there. I get it. It's natural. It's okay. Feel it. Like, take it in. Man, yeah, that does feel a little bit scary. Man, I'm cut out here, cut out there. It doesn't have to be forever. It's temporary, like anything. So yes, it might, you quit drinking, you make that decision, it might shrink the social circle, but it increases the influence. It increases your energy. It increases your focus. It increases your overall performance, those relationships, those things that we've talked about that are so important. And that is what we need to take a look at instead of focusing on, oh my gosh, I'm losing. What am I losing? I'm missing out. What am I gaining? That's a big, big mindset shift right there that can be super, super helpful. Let's kind of recap real quick. Less is more, okay? More energy, more clarity. It doesn't always have to be more. Sometimes less is more. We have clearer priorities. We have sharper decisions that we're able to make. We have an advantage. A smaller circle equals bigger leverage. We got to think of it like that. A lot of dudes also report higher daily productivity, so they're more productive. We talked about this too last week. The stronger ability to make decisions. You have greater influence. I mean, there's so many benefits. I've spit out a lot today of benefits, and I think that they highly outweigh what is being lost or taken away, however you want to put it. It's an adjustment. It's an adjustment, and it is a little bit difficult. It takes a little time at first, but it's so possible. So trim the noise, amplify the signal. It's a great way to put it. Like focus, clarity. That's the new thing, man. That's the new, that's the new output. That's the new way to operate. We're not 25 anymore. It's changed. And clarity that you'll start to see, it compounds just like interest, and hopefully you got some money in the bank and I'm just using that as an analogy here, like that clarity compounds just like money would when you got it in there. And when those distractions start to go away and you start to really, really focus, like your social circle is literally your leverage. And you need to pick that and be smart about what that looks like. And I always go back to that old Jim Rohn quote, show me the 5 people you're hanging around most and I'll show you your future. And I think that's really, really good quote. And I think it's really, really true. So if you're a high performing guy, you're executive, you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader, you're an athlete, whatever it is that you do, and you want to reclaim clarity, you want to reclaim focus, you want to really leverage your life and make some changes and cut alcohol out. The Sober Executive Performance Reset is open. It's a 12-week private coaching experience. We cut the alcohol out. We build habits that stick, and we get you up to speed operating at the top performance level. So we only work with guys who really want to commit. If that's you, if you're interested, you can apply at thatsoberguy.com/coaching. Just go to the website. You can check that out there.